called John Street, and it does have, as my American friends call it, oh, there's a John on it. There is. But yeah, it's small. It's like anyone from a small town. I went to school in a place called Aberavon, which is industrialised. If everyone knows Batolba at all, is anyone familiar with Batolba?
I've been there.
Yeah, well, it's fucking hard there, you know. So I went to a Catholic school there because we're Catholic, Irish heritage in my family. So my grandmother insisted we went to a Catholic school, which just happened to be with the biggest, you know, nutters on the planet, all gathered together in a place called Batolba, which is a hard town. So we're a very gentle little village going into a hard town to school. So you can imagine it was, and Puthcall represented very upper middle class, people with nice houses like around here, you know, on the beach. Very pretty girls, well educated. So that was little. And we're right between Cardiff and Swansea, the two biggest cities in Wales. So it was like equidistant. So it was all kinds of weird little juxtapositions going on all the time. You know, are you a Cardiff City fan? Are you a Swansea City fan? Neither, because you know it was too difficult to pick one of the two. But yeah, it was interesting. I was a twin. I got a big family, which was very unusual. There's 8 children.
You got other brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I got one sister. It was great. My sister Caroline, love her. She's just a bit younger than me. When I was very young, I didn't like her so much. But I would, from the age of 7 years old, I should say, for about 2 years, there'd be a knock on the door when I was in infants and junior school, and a tearful blonde-haired girl would be coming in, and she would come to sit by me every class, pretty much every day. She used to sit, a very shy little girl, you know. And I'd be like, oh. I wouldn't know what fucking hell was, but I'd go, oh, not again. And she'd just cling on to me for the whole, crying her eyes out for the whole thing. So, but yeah, it was quite traumatic going all that way. And it was, the kids were violent. They were from a very industrial area, so it wasn't country kids like we were used to.
It's a bit of a culture clash.
It was a big, I mean, I had my nose broken so many times. I fought constantly there, you know. And so Puthcall represented a much higher level because they didn't want that violence there. It was all about, oh, have you heard Johnny Mitchell? Oh wow, you know, it was much more, there was, everyone who spoke was more erudite and more educated, and so they represented dreams to me at the time, the ocean, you know, so yeah, Puthcall was a dream to me. Cardiff was a place I went to once a year as a child, Christmas shopping.
Yeah.
And it was like, to this day in my brain, Cardiff is a massive city, even though it's basically a very small city. I've still got that kids thing where it's only going to be going to Cardiff. Yeah, so.
I mean, how important was your Welsh background too? You still have a strong Welsh accent, not the strongest, but it's still there.
My family is very strong. Yeah.
So obviously it's quite in your heart, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my parents. I mean, my mum's very intelligent. She's a very egalitarian kind of woman, you know, and my dad was a union kind of leader kind of guy in the steelworks. So she was very for civil rights and all that kind of stuff. But in the little village, to give you an example how small our village was, we had to order The Guardian. She was the only person that read it. So we read The Guardian growing up, so that was our background. So it's very, very much to the left. We grew up as.
Well, South Wales was.
Very much, yeah, still is. Well, they just voted for Brexit, didn't they, a lot of it, so Cardiff did, Swansea did. Unfortunately for me. I don't know what you feel about all that stuff. Jezebel was supposed to do some gigs with the Mission next year, but it's just too expensive for us to go now because of Brexit.
Yeah, it's going to be a bumpy ride for bands for sure.
Yeah, it's not well thought out, you know.
So in those days, in the I guess early 70s, when did music start sort of impinging itself in your life?
Oh, very young age for me. Yeah. Well,
I mean, was that from your parents, or was it more outside influence?
We never starved, but we weren't rich, you know what I mean? So, but the big luxury we did have a nice stereo system, a gramophone player, you know, a lovely stereo system. My parents liked music a lot, but they're a much older generation than my friends were, you know, so their music was Bing Crosby, The Sound of Music, Oklahoma, all that kind of stuff. But there's singers in there, so I mean, you can learn a lot from it. If you want to, someone says what's music theory, It's in The Sound of Music. It says, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's Western music right there. Anything you're listening to, your favourite music, all comes from those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So were you intrigued in those records and musicals, or were they just soaking in the background because you?
Well, I like singing from I remember being 5 years old and going to pantomimes and just loving singing, So I was picked out as a singer in school to be in the choir, which I didn't go in because you get your face kicked in if you were in the choir. So I didn't do it. And I was also picked out for my artwork as well. But it was not good to stand out at all. But I soon found that humour got you a long way, as anyone will tell you. And I was captain of my football team, which I was a good leader. I wasn't a great soccer player. My twin brother was a great soccer player. I wasn't, but I was a good leader. And we played a tournament. He had a 5-a-side team. He picked all the best players because he was a great player. They all wanted to be on his team. But my players, I told them how to win, and we won the tournament, which pissed him off immensely. But that's our history. That's our history. I always won.
Yeah. I mean, I was reading somewhere that you were twins, but you weren't close twins. I mean, there's all different types of twins, of course.
Well, we weren't enemies, But
no, it's just you hung around different crowds.
Well, I was in a higher form in school than him for number one, which is not good to put twins in different forms, but I was in a higher stream. So my friends were different to his friends, My friends were all, his class was tougher kids, All my kids were all doing O levels and stuff, He was doing CSEs and stuff. So all my friends were into music, so they'd be bringing albums and we'd be talking about music. All his friends were just basically surviving, in his class, really. Fucking psychopaths, basically. Yeah. And he's a smart guy, so I don't know how that stream worked out. He's very intelligent, my brother. But he's funny and sharp-witted, so that probably served him well. But we're twins, and when you're a twin, you don't want to be... You get a birthday, and you get a card to the twins. Come on. That's immediately you go, fuck that, you put the card up, because you're not. You're Michael and I'm John.
You've got to find your space.
It's just all about identity, and life for all of us is about who the hell we are. That's what the journey is about, and you can be whoever you want to be. It's just a voice box. You learn. I learned this quickly.
When you were that age and really young, were you quite? I mean, a lot of twins start off looking really like each other, and as they go through life, they start to look more and more different. Or were you quite different looking at that point? You start to look more similar?
You'd have to ask other people. I mean, I look at pictures, I can see the difference between us straight away. But other people used to get us confused. But that might be a family thing, where I can see my brothers and I can see my own face and my brother's faces as I get older, especially. But people used to get us confused, and he's got punched in the face a couple of times because somebody else thought it was me. In fairness to him. So, because I was the one who was always involved. I had a friend, which I should have learned from, was just to back away, but people thought he was a coward, so I'd always... And we were late August birthdays, so we were the youngest kind of kids in our block, and as you know, when you're that growing up, 10, 11 months is a big gap for kids. A kid 10, 11 can be that much bigger than you're down there, And it was a bullying, like all schools are bullies, but this was particularly kids from all over the sandfields and all these kind of really hard areas.
So like you say, you wrapped into that kind of aggressive environment with art, music.
Yeah, but music was beautiful.
Yeah,
music was heavenly. Yeah. We had a beautiful stare, some music voices. The purity of Julie Andrews' voice is a thing to behold. My dad's a real singer too. So
did you sing with your dad? Would he get you out Sunday afternoon and get you?
My family very working class. I mean, the idea of singing would be who the fuck do you think you are? Sorry. For me, they thought, apparently, my mum said that they saw me as very arrogant as a kid, which I'm not obviously aware of, but they said my brother was quite shy and I was quite arrogant, which I'm not aware of at all, but I just took it as standing up for myself, I think. I don't know where that came from, but...
So when was the first of your music, your generation's music, there was, something for you beyond your parents' record collection?
Well, the first records I was aware of were the Beatles. I didn't bought any, but they were played so much on the radio, we all knew every word, every single word. But it was my older brothers and their girlfriends' records I heard first that influenced me. And my biggest influence that I thought, oh my God, I wanted maybe really appealed to the way I like to sing with the Beach Boys. So it's Brian Wilson stuff, which I thought was genius.
So it's still very much the vocals and the singing that's
purity of voice. The first band I liked that didn't, stick to that kind of aesthetic was Led Zeppelin. And I kind of heard all of them and I went, what the hell is that? But there's many things I don't like about them now, but when I was a kid I liked them. And my sister's record collection, people say glam stuff, but all the glam stuff my sister bought and I used to play it when she wasn't around, because it wasn't cool to like T-Rex, but I liked it, So,
and there's been a lot of rewriting history over the years, because T-Rex were a band you had to pretend you didn't like when I was a kid.
Absolutely.
But you loved them really, but you couldn't say.
Definitely, yeah. You just it was uncool to like them. But,
it was looked on as being a girls' band in the stupid 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah, because that's how they were sold, just as Jezebel was sold in many places around the world too, so we can relate to that. But I love Mark Bourne's genius there, But when I was young, I became very ill with a thing called glandular fever, and I was off school for many months, which put me back academically a big time, because I just lost my place. But I was ill, and I listened to, and I had Paul Walsh, who's not with us anymore. He died very young, actually, when he was about 22 or something, cancer. But he used to bring me records all the time. And one week he brought me Roxy Music's first album, and a week earlier Bowie's Ziggy Stardust. And the mind-blowing album. Bowie's great, obviously a great singer. You like to sing, Bowie can sing, he's fun to sing with. But the mind-blowing album was the Roxy Music album. That was like, where does this come from?
What was it about that?
They just looked like they were from a different planet. David Bowie to me looked like his mum had made his clothes, and he was just trying to be something. The people that really influenced by David Bowie are a bit younger than me, like a year younger. To my eyes, when he kissed Mick Ronson on Top of the Pops, I thought that's an act. He's just trying to get publicity, and that's all it was to me. But I like him as a singer. I don't think he can play a guitar, but he can write a song, which is a gift I think I have too. You can just play a chord, and I will write you a song around that chord. He has that similar.
You can just hear the melodies coming out of the chords.
Because it's, as I said earlier, it's just do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and little increments in between. But your voice is one note at a time. You can't harmonise it at the same time. Well, you can with the technology these days, but
So Roxy was the real formative band for you?
They're the first thing where I heard Brian Ferry. When I heard Ladytron, that song Ladytron, I don't know if you guys know Roxy really well. Do you know Roxy music, you guys? First album, that came out. Everyone else at the time, jeans, t-shirts, long hair, I wanna love you all fucking night long. This band comes out with a song called Ladytron. And that vocal, everyone else is going, oh baby, I'm gonna love you all night long. All that stuff, Or Bowie being very camp. But this guy, where does that voice come? You got me, girl, in the middle, got me. It's like, where did you come from? And you could see why Bowie was so threatened by him and so, fuck, I want to get Brian Eno, I want to be Roxy Music. They were they were the difference, that band in that era from where I was sitting with my glandular fever. I'd literally walk to the top of the stairs and I'd have to go to sleep. It was that bad, but I'd look out the window, Welsh mountains in the distance, and I'd listen to all these albums that were coming out at the time. And my brother's albums and my brother's girlfriend's albums, which would be Joni Mitchell and people like that.
So was your brother listening to different stuff? He's more to Dylan, I think.
I wasn't checking what he was listening to really. Yeah. We were separate little entities, but I won't tell you the first record he bought, but I'll let him, it's quite funny, I'm not going to say where it is. But the first record
There's no guilty pleasures, even for somebody else's.
I'm not going to tell you the first record he bought. It will embarrass him greatly, and I'm not here to do that. But he was a kid, But the first record I bought was Led Zeppelin 2. Mm-hmm. And the other reason I got Led Zeppelin because the Budgies' first album, because they were a local band, and they played the youth club, and I thought they were going to sing when I was 14 or something. So I thought I'll buy Budgies' album, but it sold out, so I got Led Zeppelin 2. So.
Did you start dressing, different to this point, or was it just the records and your own into the world? Or, when you got over the glandular fever?
Sorry?
When you got better from the glandular fever?
Oh, I've always been into clothes and things, weirdly. My passions in life are music, hiking, and nice shoes. Although I haven't got very nice shoes on tonight because I'm walking, but you know, I don't know. I've always been into the clothes, even though I'm not a superficial person. I hope I'm not materialistic in the slightest. That's why I have no money. But yeah, I don't know what my interest in it. I don't know when. It's just innate. Something's always been there. You know, always been there. Always been into clothes. Noticed them. I noticed my grandfather was a great dresser from a very young age. He was always wore suits and his hair was always perfect silver. And so I've been aware of it for a very long time. My father's a very good looking man, you never saw my dad dishevelled, ever. Ever, on his dying bed. You know what I mean? He was always immaculate, my dad.
So they're quite an influence on you, your parents, aren't they?
Well, I think everyone's an influence on you. You know, I could look around this room and people I'll think, oh, and that'll be for or against, it's been an influence. But yeah, they were in some, I don't know if astrology has anything to say, but they were both water signs. And I'm a Leo, you know, so I'm quite fiery, or can be quite fiery. And they found this quite difficult to deal with me, you know, so I'm not saying I was a difficult kid, you know, I didn't set fire in the shed or anything, but you know what I mean, they saw a lot as great, who the hell does he think he is? But you know, when I was 11, they were saying what a great artist I was. When I was, you know, 12, they were saying what a great singer I was. Of course I had confidence, you know. They made me captain of the football team. That's going to give you some confidence, isn't it? So, you know.
So were you one of those kids that was just good at everything?
I didn't really think I was any good, but I noticed they liked what I did, you know. I was getting away with it like we all do. But no, I don't know about that. I've met much brighter people than me, put it that way.
I mean, what other cultural influences were going around? Are there books and films feeding in as well?
Of that era, anything you can think of, there's 70s, early, mid-70s, late 70s, you know, all the stuff that going around at that time. But a lot of great stuff, you know, from Brando's films coming at that time, along the waterfront, a lot of the British stuff coming out in the 60s, was, you know, Friday night, Saturday morning, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, any stuff we could see on TV, which is all we used to all watch in those days. But the next big thing after Roxy, and I've never been a big fan of anything, by the way. I didn't start dressing like Brian Ferry or any of that stuff. I was never that kind of guy. Even when punk happened, I didn't shave my head or anything, you know. It was an influence, but I didn't have to wear the name on my back, you know. But the next big thing for me was you're in television, Talking Heads and those bands.
So you went New York with the punk thing came along more than London, or was it?
I mean, you watch Talking Heads. Look, go to YouTube. Look at Talking Heads from 1975, and it's post-punk. It's already post-punk. You know, they're older. Admitted, the Pistols that are young, you know, compared to them. But yeah, I prefer the more Anglo-weird stuff of television to. Which is cool as well, but I was not inspired to be the Sex Pistols, you know. Even though I love Steve Jones' guitar sound, I love their sound, but I wasn't, and the Clash didn't turn me on particularly, because I'm a singer, and they're not a singer's band. I like Toby Heaton's rhythms. I thought the Ruts were the most exciting band of that post-punk British era. I thought they were just phenomenal. But there were a lot of Buzzcocks, I loved them, they did songs, you know. So there was English stuff I liked as well, don't get me wrong, but it was mostly American stuff. I was like, you know, Peeraboo and all that stuff. I was like, wow, I thought was on another level, you know.
I can see television will surprise the Peeraboo.
Yeah, because it's powerful.
I mean, they're amazing
Powerful,
bands.
yeah. I mean, it was only recent, I didn't realise it until recent. When I grew up, I look back and I think, oh God, I wish I did the MC5 when I was growing up. I didn't know about them until later. And I only just learned that the Stooges' first album came out in '69. I didn't know that. I always thought that was about '72.
Yeah.
And if you think it's in '70s, it's a great album. I think, yeah, it's good. Iggy's a phenomenal singer. He has a great voice and he's a powerful band. But you put that in 1969, I Want to Be Your Dog in 1969, and Led Zeppelin singing Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. I mean, he's way ahead. You know, and you look on YouTube and you see film of the MC5 in Aylesbury Friars or whatever, about 78, and it's phenomenal, you know.
Just really exciting.
But I wasn't aware of it then. I wish I was more aware of it back in, but who was, you know, because they're literally playing to 5 people, you know.
Yeah, it's And where do you hear it? You know,
You couldn't hear it, unless your friend had it, and albums were a major purchase. So, yeah.
And with television, what was it about them? I mean, they're an amazing group. Was it just the atmospherics around the music? The two guitars,
the otherness.
Great singer, is it?
Yeah, it's great guitar player. The otherness of it, really. Just I always like people that didn't sound like anybody else. That was always my same as I hope as a singer I don't sound like anybody else. I can. I mean, I used to entertain the guys in the band, Jezebel. I would sing all the songs like Tom Waits, just for fun, and they'd find it hilarious, you know. Real keeps dragging me down. My voice. I'm not going to fuck my voice up to do it for you tonight, but it would be fun to do. You know, after we've done the record, I just do it like.
It's a really different end of the singing thing with your voice, isn't it, Tom Waits?
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. But he developed his voice too.
He's actually a really good singer, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah.
He's very musical. Yeah.
So was there this kind of point you thought about playing music yourself?
Oh, from 5 years old, I was always going to do music. I had no doubt in my mind.
You just knew, you had the vision you were going to do it one day.
I could have gone to university for nothing, the government paid for it and all the rest of it, but no, I was always going to be a singer. You know? It's the one thing I knew I could do better than anybody else. That's what I thought. That's pretty...
You have to have that self-belief, to stand in front of people.
There'd be local musicians, there'd be a microphone, and I'd go and sing, and I'd go up and down the range, and they'd be like, what the fuck? And I could sing anyone's songs, so...
So is that how you started then? Was it like kind of jamming nights and just playing with local musicians then?
It started during the punk era. So it started with me and my friend Steve. We'd literally get up in the students' union, acoustic guitar, play a couple of chords, and just we had a thing called factory fodder, and we just make up stuff, songs like floating deck chairs, and just mad, very artsy. He was very pretentious, and so was I to some degree, but not as much as him. I'm still on a search. Even when I'm playing here tonight, when you do these songs, I'm not quite sure how they're going to sound, and when they sound good or bad, it's just as much a shock to me as it is to you. It's in the moment, When I'm with James and Pete and Chris Bell or Smile, who's playing drums with us sometimes, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. I know they're going to deliver. It's easy. On my own, it's not the. Most every musician comes up to you after, I don't know how the fuck you do that. Because it's so hard.
Do you prefer that though, when it's, obviously both things are good, aren't they? You've got a really tight band and it's solid and exciting.
Yeah.
You know where the points are, where the adrenaline's going to rush, great. Also, when you've got a blank piece of paper, that can be pretty cool as well, can't it?
It's terrifying. It's as low as I can feel. I've done gigs and I'm thinking, well, I'm useless. Actually, I'll give you a good example. I'm in my 60s and I'm still searching, That tells you how this music affects me. But one of the first gigs I did on my own was in Brighton with my friend Jen Brown O'Drag from Priscilla. She said, "Oh, Jen, come and play with me. I'm playing a gig in Brighton." I thought, great, I'll go down there. So I'm in my room playing my acoustic. Yeah, I'm fucking great, I can impress you, You actually plug in, and it sounds very different to what you sound like at home. When you actually plug your acoustic guitar, what comes through there is not what you hear at home. It's no relation at all. It's not organic in any way. And I remember doing the gig, and I was like, I'm hating every last moment of this gig. I am talentless. What the fuck? What am I doing? How deluded am I, Finished that gig, and I was just down, just hanging out, hanging with everybody. I was busy, So Jay, go back on the train to London, and my friend Sarah was visiting from LA, filmed the gig. And she posted it without asking me. And I was in the bath, I was playing music, and I'd been tagged, and I watched it, and it sounded really good. And that's where I learned what I'm hearing through there isn't what you're hearing out there. And I've had to use that but it's still, there are moments where you go, fuck, this sucks,
It's interesting to say because, one level you seem very confident, another level you've got the terror as well. That's an
because I'm doing something, I'm not the greatest guitar player in the world. There's 22 billion people better than anybody. Whoever plays guitar, there's always someone better, So that makes me feel insecure. I know I'm a good songwriter because everybody relies on me to write songs, and I know I'm a good singer because I can sing. But on my own with a guitar, it's terrifying for me. But thankfully, punk rock happened, which gives you the balls to get up and say, "Oh, I'm going to do it." That's the greatest thing punk. Was, once people say punk, it's not even about sound. It's just like, yeah, you just do it. Your life, as I know, people always say life is short, but as we get older, yeah, it is bloody short. So you may as well do it. What else do you do on a Thursday night in Arnside? It's like, why not?
Yeah, which is the revolution of punk, wasn't it?
And no matter how famous and rich you become, everyone forgets you in the end. It's all meaningless, and then the planets, we're going to destroy the planet anyway. So don't get too worried about it. Enjoy yourself in this space. Try and give good love out there, and try and be nice. And there's lots of good things, as we know, as we get older especially. Don't worry what people say. Try not to worry what people say, and just do what you do. But yeah, I still, I did 4 gigs. Fisher's Head, 2 Fisher's Head, one with Mark Burgess from Chameleons and one with Spirit of Destiny, just prior to this last batch I did with Deadman Walking. Those 4 great gigs, this went really well. The last 4, one phenomenal one where everything just went into place, one really good one, and the other 2, for my feeling.
Are you your own worst critic though?
Probably, but you can tell if I sing tonight and I sing well, they will react. And I'll know if I could do things that other people can't do as a vocalist and a writer sometimes, and I know when I'm hitting those points. But sometimes you hit a bum chord. There are funny things that happen on your own. On your own, with the band, it's great. You're all great friends. Gino's Jezebel is still together because we're all great friends. We get on really well. We travel well together. You're traveling, you want to go to the bathroom, someone's looking after your luggage. On your own, you're like in cubicles, guitars and bags, and you're always constantly watching your stuff. And you have to there's no roadies, you're doing everything on your own. So one gig, I did a song called Upstairs, which you guys will know, right? And I use a capo a lot just to change the keys, just a quick way of changing keys without having to learn different positions quickly. And I played one song, and I'd forgotten the capo was on the neck, and then I did Upstairs. It was up 3, it's like a tone and a half higher than the record, which is high. And I went, Upstairs! And then I had to carry on. I had to carry on singing the song as you've started it. But it was hilarious, So stuff like that happens on your own, stuff happens. I've got these very few pedals, but if I hit one the wrong way, it can really send things weird.
Not a bad thing. Curveball.
And it's true, it's a looper pedal. I don't know if any guys play guitars, but the looper pedal is the best invention of all time if you play an instrument. Because you can jam with yourself with it. And just
you can become an orchestra.
You can, and you can work out, people talk about keys and will this note fit, you can just play it back. And I could do some good things with a looper pedal, but if I was to bring a looper pedal tonight and play for you guys, I would fuck it up. I call myself the music's Tommy Cooper at times. Because I can mess it up,
So going back to the punk period, is that when you started writing songs, or were you already writing songs before that?
I can remember writing songs really, it's almost Spinal Tappy. Our songs came to me, very young age.
So that's just writing on a guitar, or would you hear a whole song?
I just sing, I remember entertaining my mum once. I was in Weston-super-Mare. Played one of those machines where you pick a crane, and I won a Charlie Chaplin that you pull it and his hat went like this all the time. And I remember just singing a song. I'm not going to sing it, but my mum just loved it, And so I knew I could entertain people.
Was that almost your first audience?
She was my first, yeah. But lots of people have heard me sing, and I went through a period where I lost my voice and I had to retrain to sing, And I made some rackets. It's not like when you go for something singing, if you miss it, it sounds bad, and you have to rest your voice and do it again another day. And like a guitar.
So what happened? You just get the notes, you just wore your voice out?
I drank too much. I used to smoke 2 packs, which is 40 Marlboro Reds a day. Drank at least a bottle of wine a day. And I was the lightweight of anyone I knew, by the way. And I figured, I don't think a bottle and a half of wine a day, I don't think it's a good thing. And they'd be like, nah, I drink that when I get home. And they're not joking. Or they'd say, have you ever had a blackout? I said, no, I've never had a blackout. It's nothing. And that's the culture we lived in, And then, but I went, nah, this doesn't work for me. Fortunately, with things like cocaine and things like that, I worked out quickly. It did not work for me. Luckily, it's just not my thing.
When did you get out of all that then? when did you escape the rock and roll lifestyle?
Well, the most important thing, when I was talking about Mark Bolan, I heard him do an interview once on the radio, and he says, if you do a gig, that person might not see you again for 2 years, so you better be good. So my important thing was I wouldn't drink before a gig, I'd always do my best, and I killed myself at gigs. I worked really hard, to make sure my voice was in perfect condition, and I would run 10,000 miles on stage. Was so important to me. That's what I got out of it, I guess. It was important to me.
So it was more about, just doing 100% for the audience.
At the time, and then I got jaded by it all, because so much what I thought shit music was coming out where people couldn't sing or couldn't write. And I just thought, I put all this effort in and no one's giving it back to me. And we're in England, and the English press are dissing us all the time. They don't know, they don't even listen. I mean, there was one review of, because I like Bob Dylan, and there was one review, someone wrote in Melody Maker, oh, it's one of the worst covers of Bob Dylan's Tangled Up in Blue I've ever heard. It's not even on the record. The song's called Tangled Up in You, and that's my tip of a hat to Bob Dylan. It's got nothing to do with Tangled Up in Blue. I just used as a tip to someone I admired, but the person hadn't listened to the record. They just decided to put the
title and...
Yeah, and I just thought, what am I bothering for, They haven't listened to the songs, they've never listened to Gorgeous, all the lyrics. They've never listened to Stevie or any of those songs, which sound like nothing else out there, because I've gone out of my way that we don't sound like anybody else out there. They just gone, oh no, Lipstick, oh, just a girls band. We were going to call the second album Girly, just as a joke, because they've called us Girls Blouse, and we can handle ourselves,
That's a compliment, sure.
That's what we took it as, yeah. I mean, New Order, people like that, they couldn't handle us, Hooky. Yeah, so,
I saw he was a bit bitchy about you.
Yeah, you wouldn't say it to your face. You had plenty of time to say it to my face, same as Mac, Say it to my face, man. Yeah, say it to my face. Come on, you and me now. But no, they wait till they're doing cocaine up in the fucking hotel room with their journalist friends,
In a way, though, it's you were on the outside of all that kind of scene.
Well, you were.
But that's a strength, I thought. It's
what's your otherness?
You get an audience because people actually like you, not because they feel like they should like you.
You do, but you look back and you look at the history of the 80s, and it wasn't the 80s. Because they just say, oh, but the 80s, that's Madonna, and that's Blonsky. There's a whole subculture of, Chili Peppers, Jane's Addiction, they're all 80s bands, There's all this other stuff happening in the 80s, tons of bands were coming through. But they were rated as that. BBC did a thing on goth rock. Jezebel were very important to the British goth scene. Very important band. Because the BBC didn't have us on any of the programmes, there's no footage of us. They got a ex-bass player who became famous.
But did you feel part of the goth scene? I mean,
well, we knew we were part of it. We didn't like being called goth.
Yeah, no band that ever existed liked to be called a goth band, did they? But they're quite happy
because they're putting you in a little. What was important to the bands the last era, where it was important to the 80s, where every band wanted their own thing, their own sound. It was very important to the bands to have their own thing. And so to be planted together with all these other bands that you don't sound anything like, was a drag. No, I don't care at all. But it is frustrating to see the history.
It's a common audience, I guess. That's probably within
the people that put those labels did not like the music. No, they didn't like bands. They didn't like people with red hair. They didn't like guys who wore lipstick. They didn't like girls who wore black and white faces. They didn't like Susie looking like she looked. So they weren't people on your side. They were people trying to vilify you, make big fools out of you. I mean, the Enemy wrote a really good piece on us, but the guy, the features editor at the Enemy, was a guy called X-Mode, remember him? Like a skinhead kind, like a Redskins guy. He was the features ed. So a really great article of What's So Special by Matt Snow, Gino's Jezebel. By the way, he was a fellow Spurs fan, which we didn't know at the time, because I'm a Spurs fan. Great article, but the features eds, they put funny pictures. Oh, look, there's pixies over there. They just take the piss, you know what I mean? An agenda. I remember seeing a thing with David Sylvian, another band that should have got a lot of credit, didn't get any credit, And they just look for the worst angle picture they can find of David Sylvian they can find in the Enemy, just to slag them off. Yeah.
And
It's all political.
great band as well. So
Fantastic, yeah.
before you moved to London in 1980, were you kind of moving in that direction? I mean, what? I'm interested in this little gap between when you're sort of doing this kind of experimental,
Right.
post-punk stuff with your mates at college, and then you moved to London in 1980. So
Right.
what's going on that gap there? You know, making sense of punk and post-punk in a way.
Right. Well, that's. I mean, when you're that age, you're just trying to make it, and you're thinking, like any young musician, what's the easiest way to make it? So you tend to pick up on bands like Pill or Joy Division, where it's not that hard to play what they're playing, and you think, well, I'll just do that kind of thing, but I'll try to do it in my own way. And you look at bands like Japan, who were a very influential band that didn't get the credit. Oh, well, I'll do my hair red, or I'll bleach my hair, or whatever, you know. So all those things were affecting her, and they'd be obviously talking. And John Peel, we listened to tons of music from Prince Far all the way to. I always say to people, I used to work for Apple for a while, you know, and I used to teach there. You know, I'd say to people, you don't choose music; it chooses you. Don't get upset by it. Don't let someone judge you because you like something. It's music. You know, it just grabs you or it doesn't, you know. But there was tons of John Peel was playing loads of, well, that was his classic best era, wasn't it? The punk to post-punk. He was playing
Defines it, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, he was amazing. So you had so much stuff, and tons of records with influence, you know.
So when you arrived in London in 1980, what's it like? Can you give me a sense of what it's like to come from Paris?
Well, I'll tell you how we got there. First of all, I was hitching abroad. I was hitching to Morocco. I had a girlfriend in Germany, so I was hitching around Europe. I ended up in Austria. And I'm thinking, I should be. All this stuff had started happening, like television, all those kind of punk had started happening. I was thinking, man, I should be in a band, really. I could easily have done that in Germany or Austria. And I thought, no, I should really get back to Wales and form a band with Welsh people, you know. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, I'll go back to Wales, and what we'll do, the ICA, the Institute of Contemporary Art, the ICA, you guys, used to be this festival they had every year where they bring unknown bands from around the UK would get some exposure. So I just thought to myself, okay, I'll get a job at the ICA. We'll move up to London, I'll get a job at the ICA, I'll get on the bill for the ICA Rock Week, then we'll get an agent, then we'll get a record deal, and then we'll become famous. And that's exactly what happened. I did exactly. I went into the bar at the ICA, Institute of Contemporary Art. There was a girl behind the bar, the manageress. I said, I'm looking for a job. And she was like, yeah, I'm really happy today. So I'm so happy about it. Aston Villa, that's my last name's Aston. Their favourite team was Aston Villa, and they just beaten my favourite team like 4-0. So she bonded with me straight away because we started talking about football. And she gave me a job, so I was in at the ICA. So then I made it, when I was in Wales, I made a tape of my songs, and I gave the tape to someone to give to the promoter. And the irony was, he didn't know I worked at the ICA, he just liked the tunes. And they gave us the gig. We did the gig, Melody Maker came down, they gave us a great write-up, Rough Trade agency was there, they loved it, so we had to deal with, the most important thing was to get a good agent. And we had a really great agent, so we ended up supporting loads of different bands, you know, Nico and tons birthday party, or whoever was around at the time, we'd end up supporting. We lived in Pimlico, and the scene was exciting. I mean, it was still anything goes. Face magazine literally hadn't been out very